I want to get to 2028 because I actually was very interested when I looked at your poll where this thing is. I'm going to start on the Dem side because it's more fun.
Yeah.
Right now, the top candidate for the Dems for 2028 is Kamala Harris at 33, my
Yeah.
buddy Pete Buttigieg at 9, Gavin Newsom at 7, AOC at 6, and no one else above 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
What does that tell you?
You know what that tells me? They're like a baseball team. Spring training, I guess, is starting today. They have no farm system because I'll pay her filing fees right now for Kamala Harris to be their candidate. And she's the front runner right now. But they have a failure problem in the Democratic Party right now. Because think about it. Think about this, Sean. Like, where can you point to and say, you know what? That governor of California is doing a good job, because he's not. Or that governor in New York, Kathy Hochul, is doing a good job. She's a disaster. And then you look at all the big city mayors, which in a lot of ways are even worse than what they get with their governors. Who's that successful mayor? Who's that successful governor? Who's that successful U.S. senator that the Democrats have? They don't have anybody. And it's really, really interesting. They have big problems right now on the Democratic side because they have a policy. That's their biggest problem, is they can't point to policies and politicians that have been successful. And now you've got Republicans have become the party of the working Americans. And just like you said, they're the common sense party. So that's the big problem that the Democrats have right now. And you look at them, we'd love to run against Pete Buttigieg.
I can't believe that though. That no one else. I mean, to your point, that's ridiculous. That the idea that no one gets above 6 except for those people. I mean, my goodness, I'll take any of them. Kamala Harris. I mean, but also after a horrible campaign and a big thumping, the idea that a third of the party is saying, let's go back to that. Let's double down on dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. It just goes to show you how bad their candidates are and how bad their farm team is. And you look at all of Donald Trump's cabinet picks, you look at folks like a Marco Rubio, obviously J.D. Vance is vice president. You look at folks like Kristi Noem. You look at a Pam Bondi. You could say, okay, I could see them being president someday. And those are the types of people.
Isn't that really is a strong contrast? Like, actually, just stop it. Let's read off the Republican side, because you did this for them too. J.D. Vance 27, Don Jr. 21, DeSantis 8, and no one else above 3. Right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing: think about Joe Biden's cabinet. Okay, I know that there are rumors that Gina Raimondo wants to potentially run or do something. She may even run for governor of Rhode Island again. And then you got Pete Buttigieg. But I'm going through the cabinet in my head, and just I'm trying to think. Dennis McDonough, no way. Janet Yellen was the Treasury Secretary. Lloyd Austin, Defense Secretary. I don't see another person who you could make a credible case that they could run for like student council, never mind president. Okay. Buttigieg, I think he's run before. Like, he's got a niche following. Okay. And Gavin Newsom, I get. Not that he was in the cabinet. But you're right. You think about on our side, right? Let's just leave governor out, senators out, just the cabinet. Kristi Noem, I can see running. I think it's obviously Doug Burgum. He ran already. Marco Rubio, 100%. JD, obviously. I'm just trying to think through my head real quick. Zeldin is at EPA. He'd be great. Lee Stefanik at UN. Tulsi is not a Republican. Maybe she is. But, I mean, you start going through, and there's a credible case that you can make for a lot of our guys. Although I will say this. It sounds like, I mean, their side goes Kamala and then a couple single-digit ones. I don't think Don Jr.'s running, right? He's never shown an interest. So take him out. You have JD at 27, DeSantis at 8, and no one else above 3. I mean, aside from the personal qualities that we both probably agree with, it sounds like this will be JD's to lose.
I think in a lot of ways. And look, the more successful President Trump is, because right now, Donald Trump has a job approval rating among Republicans. This is all Republicans. It's close to 95% right now. I mean, that's how good his numbers are, especially among the base. As strong as he was in that Republican primary that he won overwhelmingly versus, what was it? We had over a dozen candidates in there at various times. he's even more popular now because, again, he's keeping his promises. They like what they're seeing out of him. And to be quite honest with you, look, 4 years from now is a long, long time. But as long as he's successful, I think, which I know he's going to be, I think you're going to see like somebody, it's going to be very hard to beat JD Vance when it's all said and done. And look, JD Vance has impressed the heck out of me. You just look at him on the Sunday morning talk shows. He's been like Donald Trump out there where he's correcting the media. He's able to get the message out there. And think about it, I know you've had these conversations too, because I've talked, we talk to reporters every once in a while. And one of the reporters was telling me, I need to talk to you. I'm on a deadline, blah, blah, blah. I said, what do you mean? I said, for the last 4 years, you haven't had to work. Because Joe Biden would be calling the lid at 9 a.m. and they wouldn't be doing anything. And you think of every day, you've got the JD Vances of the world. You've got obviously President Trump and Marco. They're out there talking every day. They're not embarrassed by their record. They're not embarrassed about their ideas and their policies and whatnot. So I think it's going to be interesting. It's too early to say what's going to happen in 2028, but I think you're going to see something similar like after Ronald Reagan's successes. And I always say the reason why George Bush 41 became the nominee and nobody else really had a shot, was because of the successes of Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. If you looked at your crystal ball, do you think that anyone primaries JD, or does he just get it?
I think you're always going to have a primary. Yeah. It's just whenever you're going to have an open seat, and I think there'll definitely be a primary. And look, you think about who had heard of Doug Burgum before he decided to run for everybody who ran in that Republican primary, whether it was Vivek Ramaswamy, whether it was Doug Bergman, they all did significantly better and it was all good. Probably the only person that hurt themselves in the Republican primary was Nikki Haley. And the reason she hurt herself was because she didn't get on board with President Trump's agenda.
What about Pence?
The way it's unfortunately, it's just not going to happen for Mike Pence. It's just, I liked him when I worked with him, but again, both Nikki Haley and Mike Pence, they're out of touch with the conservative Republican base, which is Donald Trump. And this is a whole other show. He's literally changed. You think about it. He's literally changed. We used to be anti-tariffs, but now we're pro-tariffs because we've seen how they've worked. We used to be free trade. No, we found out free trade is stupid trade. Now what our base is for? They're for Donald Trump's fair trade. So he's literally changed the whole makeup of the Republican Party, especially the Republican base.
100%. Jim McLaughlin, always love our conversations. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's better. I want to keep talking after the show.
We can do that.
I miss you on campaign, Sean. But you got a lot smarter. You get to sleep once in a while now.
That's right. Take care.
Thank you, Sean.
What a great conversation with Jim. Oh, I could have gone on for hours. Anyway, my newsletter comes out twice a week. It is free, SeanSpicer.com. Always appreciate the VIP members who want to see some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that I post, but go to SeanSpicer.com. Get it delivered to your mailbox Tuesdays and Thursdays. It is free for the taking. Later in this week, Victor Davis Hansen's going to join us. I appreciate all of your support. Thanks for sharing the show, for subscribing, hitting the notification button. I will see you back here tomorrow on the Sean Spicer Show. Have a good day. Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.